Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline, live on Verizon 32, Comcast 7 in Bethel Park, and soon to be broadcast throughout the area on YouTube and Pittsburgh Sportsline at Facebook for all you guys and girls that have a drink each time I mention Pittsburgh Sportsline at Facebook. Hey, thanks for watching our show. We got Matt on the cameras. Devin and Aaron are off. We had a great show last night with Matt and Little Z, who's in the house here. Wally Chip is back. He helped us with the sound equipment. We'll talk about that a little later. And thanks for Chris being in the control room, and BPTV, thanks for having us on air. We appreciate all the great feedback. And for all of you that haven't watched the show, I know you guys know what's on our mind. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine, Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Little Z Brenner. They just got in, believe it or not. Smoking Jim and Little Z had a little foot race, and Little Z didn't realize that Smoking Jim was a world-class sprinter. So we're going to start our show with what's on our mind. Little Z, welcome aboard again. What's on your mind?
Welcome back, Zach.
Well, when you guys finally get to hear the show from last night, you'll get to hear what I'm about to touch on right now. Basically, what I said last night, coaching basically blew it for the Penguins again. You know, if we lose this series, I say Dan Bylsma gets fired, and that's pretty much what's on my mind because he just can't get through to the players. There's a time to be somebody's friend, and there's a time, you know, to handle work, and there needs to distinguish between the two. And Dan Bylsma's just not getting through to these guys right now. They're not playing any kind of defense, so it doesn't matter who's in goal. Any one of us four could be in goal right now. It doesn't matter who's in goal. And they scored one goal in 6 periods of hockey with that kind of lineup on that, you know, with that talent. Something's got to give, and he's not.
We're going to revisit this in a couple minutes, and then we'll revisit it in our Penguins segment.
We will go in depth.
We have a lot going on, but Little Z, all I can say is the English say you're spot on. And here, do you need a little towel to wipe down there, buddy? And that's fresh. I just washed it.
Oh, it smells good.
Oh, yeah, you smell the Downy.
They got a little bit of that power Kool-Aid on there.
No. I drank all that sour Kool-Aid, and it's pretty sweet. Hey, Smoking Jim, what's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine.
I didn't wear green, but I like that shirt Little Z has.
Yeah, that's nice. And the hat matches the shirt.
Does it?
The Yankees, too, in honor of...
The color blind. Oh, there it
but
is.
you've got to accessorize.
That's it. I like it. I like his swag. Real quick, my Spotlight Player of the Week goes to the Steelers' 2013 6th-round draft pick. Vince Williams, 6'1", 250-pound middle linebacker from Florida State. I think he really has a chance to make the football team for a couple reasons. One, they don't really have any good middle linebackers. And two, he's a pretty physical guy. If you go back and watch Florida State play, where's number 11? He's a 2-down linebacker that has the potential to play on passing downs, even though he didn't do it at Florida State. He runs the 40 in about 4.6 seconds. Bench presses 225 pounds, 22 reps. Only started 2 years at Florida State, but at 250 pounds, he does love contact. He's very physical. So my Spotlight Player of the Week, Vince Williams, middle linebacker, Florida State, got a chance to make this football team.
Well, thanks, Smoking Jim. We appreciate your insights. We'll look forward to that.
Hey, he's got to stay out of the South Side, too, if he wants to have a chance to make this team. Stay out of the South Side.
We'll discuss that. Hold it. Let me put a separate segment on
Outside
that.
after midnight,
I'm sorry.
no go.
I'm a spur of the moment kind of guy. I lose my train of thought. I'm
No,
sorry.
we're okay with that, but I'm going to add that a little South Side conversation with
We'll
Steelers.
call that the Southside Shuffle.
South Side
Hey,
and Steelers.
I'm available for security, guys, if you need somebody.
That's what's
if
up.
you need somebody
That's
down
what's
there,
up.
man.
Well, BC will travel anywhere.
Anywhere.
And now let's get the Chip the Prophet Hayner. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan. What's on my mind is, you know, I don't know, most of us probably didn't see much or hear anything about the Pirate game last night because we were too busy watching that debacle at the console last night. But once again, last night, issue happened again with the umpires. That it's a disturbing trend, and I think it's about time that Major League Baseball did something about it. And to set the stage here for what happened last night, you know, A.J. Burnett was pitching. Didn't have his good stuff last night. He got roughed up pretty good. But, A.J. Burnett has a history of being somewhat nasty, so to speak, to umps and just the players in general. But, the umps were, the strike zone was all over the place. And, pitches that should have been called strikes weren't being called strikes. And, of course, A.J. Burnett was letting the ump hear about it a little bit. And the ump got to the point where it didn't matter if where A.J. Burnett threw the pitch, that he wasn't going to call it a strike. And that exact instance happened. A.J. Burnett threw one right down the middle of the plate. And the ump didn't call it a strike just to get back at A.J. Burnett. Wow. And Russell Martin, without even turning and looking at the ump, walks up in front of the plate to go throw the ball back. And apparently he said something to the ump, and the ump ran him. Okay, so here he throws the catcher out of the game, which prompts Clint Hurdle to come out and go to the defense of his catcher, and he gets ran from the game as well. And I think part of the problem that is going on in Major League Baseball is that the umpires are out of control. They are not doing the job that they should be doing. They should be calling balls and strikes, fair ball, foul ball, safe, out. They shouldn't be getting into personal conflicts with players because, just because they have an attitude or a bone to pick with a certain player doesn't mean that they should be affecting the outcome of the games. They're supposed to be impartial, and they're not being that way. And it's about time that the gets up off of his dead hind end and do something about this. Because, it's a travesty that this is happening, and it's happened over and over and over again. It happened earlier in the year between Cleveland and Oakland when the umpires deliberately didn't call a home run after it was clear on a replay that it was because they didn't necessarily agree with the replay rule. Well, hey, Major League Baseball said that is a rule and it needs to be applied, and whether you like it or not, you need to apply it. So we need to do something about the umpires. There's got to be some way to discipline these people or get them to call the games the way they should be. But that's what's on my mind.
Hey, I appreciate it. That's why we'll revisit that because that's one of my pet peeves, as you guys know.
Is Bud Selig still alive? Is that the commissioner?
I don't know.
We'll continue.
I think he may be involved and stuff. And they roll him out for ceremonies.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me do a couple promotions here. We got our Seneca Valley, the Unicycle National Championships. Check it out online.
Can't wait.
Hey, wait a minute. I saw a post on Facebook, and I hate to interrupt you, Alan.
That's okay. You
Trina Hess had a little accident. She scraped her knee and hurt her foot falling off the unicycle the other day.
Really?
Is
she going to be in trouble?
I think she's going to be all right. They life flighted her, and I think she's going to be okay.
I posted it out there that she was out
My
there
heart
live
stopped
in
for
the
a
public
minute.
there. Well, she's a good person.
Hey, get well, Trina. Heal up.
I hope she takes that in the tongue in cheek because she's a good comedian herself.
Bucket of ice water.
We got to get her back on the show because this is July 21st to the 27th. You got to get raffle tickets, buy some tickets for the dinner there. If you want to compete in there, I can't wait to see little Z up there on a unicycle.
I don't think it's for insurance purposes they're going to allow me to try that. I need my health.
We'll move on there. I'll save a couple other things for later, but what's on my mind is Penguins, of course. You guys touched on it. I'm a fan. It's disappointing. We're going to discuss a little more about it. I predicted 5-1, so I do have to eat some humble pie here because it was the opposite, 6-1. I don't know what happened. And then I hear one of my good friends, Smoking Jim Frazier's, talking about the Pirates, and he's known to drop a wager every once in a while. Now, this was a bet that we talked about off air, that it wasn't really a bet the house bet, but his logic made so much sense that I don't know if I could say it as bookie paid him or whatever, but he did win on the Pirates. He was a winner, so he didn't care about A.J. Burnett and Russell Martin getting thrown out like I did. We're watching it, and I'm looking at him. I go, look, that umpire's swearing at Russell Martin. He was dropping the F-bomb. So if you can throw a player out for saying the bad word like they say, what happened to the umpire? So I'm going to cut to the chase. Hey, thanks for watching all this. If you want to call in and join the fun, 412-831-3304. Or give a comment or two on Pittsburgh Sportsline at Facebook. And now we're going to do a segment for all of you guys and girls that haven't watched. we're going to revisit what we talked about, because sometimes we talk after the show, believe it or not just on air. So we're going to talk on air about revisiting a couple of these points here. And I'm going to start with the baseball and the umpires.
Go ahead, Alan.
And Chip, part of the thing is they are supposed to be impartial. They are supposed to know the rules, and they're supposed to enforce them. It's like a stop sign. How many of you people here in Bethel Park, you got all these stop signs? What happens? You don't like the one at the end of your street, but if you go through it, you get a ticket.
Good point.
What about the red light right near me, where every once in a while people are zipping around and they get caught? Now, Bud Selig, I don't know who he is, but he's not in charge. So somebody in charge of umpires should correct them, or maybe you get the new umpires from the minor leagues.
Well, here's a thought. Why, the umpires are off, a separate entity. Why doesn't Major League Baseball, take charge of training the umpires and authorizing them? Then they could also enforce discipline against the umpires, because I think, players aren't the only ones that should be disciplined. Okay? And if the umpires if the umpires are acting out of line, then they should be disciplined too. They should be suspended. They should be fined.
I thought they tried that, though. They tried to bring in their own umpires, and it was a travesty. It was even worse than what we had now.
Well, that was because they were locked out, the real ones.
But that's
because
like referee. Here's what
the ones got
here's
locked
the
out.
idea.
We brought in the Major League Baseball trained ones, and it was even worse than these other guys.
Well, here's a
actually-
theory that I have. You have rules in every walk of life here, or you have anarchy. So you don't want to have anarchy in a kids game where you're playing baseball, football, or whatever. So just go by the rules a little bit and have somebody that's actually in charge of the umpires.
What are those rules, though? Because I think over
They're in
the
a book.
years, well, I mean, if they're not properly passing these rules on from generation to
No, no, no,
generation.
it's in the
Everybody
book.
has their own rules. I grew up with 10, 15 ghost men playing baseball when I was a kid, because there was not enough kids in the neighborhood to play baseball. So you do the math. Everybody was imaginary on the field. So
Whoa, don't be
That's what a
bringing
ghost
up
man
about
is.
Brazil and her family right now. Smoking
I'm sorry.
Jim takes
Brazil
offense to
taught
that.
me good batting
Did you have
posture.
left field? If you hit in left field, it was an out, because we did.
No, we didn't do that.
Because
but,
we didn't have players there. Or maybe it was right field. Or you designate which field you weren't allowed to hit in. So we were a little flexible. And sometimes we only had a first and second baseman and a third baseman.
Well, I was hoping somebody would tell me what anarchy meant, but anyhow.
It's a show on one of the TV.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was Suns.
Yeah,
Man.
they
Anyhow,
called
Chip,
Sons.
Me and Al Levine, the talking machine, we're watching the game yesterday, but the sound is down because they have to sound up for the Penguin game. And I seen the pitcher throw a strike, and I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the umpire to. And I'm wondering what's going on. And Al says the umpire just said a curse word. Next thing I know, they're throwing people out of the game. But yeah, it was clearly a strike,
And it
I
didn't
was watching.
stop Smoking Jim from finishing the sausage
It
and
hurt the
french fries.
It hurt the
sausage
Pirates,
was
though,
on.
because when they brought in that other catcher, he has no kind of experience with A.J. Burnett, no kind of cohesion with him.
And the whole point there is the umpires are not supposed to be able to affect the outcome of the game by deliberately. Now they're going to make mistakes on calls, their judgment calls, bang, bang play. You're going to make mistakes, and that's part of human error. What the umpires are doing is they're imposing their will on games and deliberately affecting the outcome, and that shouldn't be allowed to happen.
They might have money on it, like Pete
Since
Rose.
we have a gambler in the house here, he wasn't upset one bit about that, especially the score is 4-1, 5-1. There were a couple homers.
I may send a little bit to the
No,
umpire.
you won't. I know Smoking Jim. He is not going to do that, folks, because he has to bet the house at least 6 times during the Steeler season or football season. So save up your house money.
But being a conspiracy theorist,
Yes,
and
like we are.
this is information that I just found out this afternoon. But do you remember 2 summers ago there was an umpire in Atlanta that blew the call at home that cost the Pirates a 17-inning
Yes.
game, and his name was Jerry Meals. The guy that was behind the plate last night was the second base umpire that night.
Really? Well, I thought the umpire last night was Mookie Blaylock.
Hey, Mookie Blaylock, I heard he was injured. Best luck, Mookie. Get recovery.
Yeah, well, Mookie's also being charged with vehicular homicide as well.
Yeah, he killed a lady.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
he's been charged. Whether or not he gets convicted depends on if he
I
can still afford
also heard that those 2 gentlemen, those umpires, were also on the grassy knoll when John F. Kennedy got shot.
That's right.
And they also know what's in Area 51.
And the
So
magic
we're just
bullet.
going to have to bring these guys in for a Senate inquiry and find out what they really know.
That's what we
Little
go
Z,
to the Warren
we're
Commission.
glad to have you join our conspiracy club.
That's right.
And I'll go in on it. I'll give you a few of the books that I do have on those subjects
And
you
just
mentioned.
remember, we are not alone.
And this is being broadcast.
I heard David Duchovny is still out there looking for aliens somewhere in this country.
Well,
so
wait.
he never gave up.
Hey, the truth is out there, and I'm going to go to Sip Sports Bar. And
right.
we had a great time there last night. And then, I don't know about you guys.
Damn, Claudio, you better get out some more. He ate all this.
You got to get your bar ready. Come ready. Claudio Rosano, the coach of CMU and owner of many different businesses. He's a scout. He brought these energy bars in there, 5 grams of fiber,
And Alan-
18 vitamins
Look
and
at
minerals.
his skin.
And
He
Alan
looks
hasn't
good tonight.
slept since.
And I asked Chip, how was your energy bar this morning? He goes, I forgot, but I ate 4 loaves of bread or something because they were free. So he's stealing a page out of my book. And for Chief and all you guys that know me from the Post-Gazette, don't fall off your chair here. It was free. And it was for me, as RB would say, so it was good. And I want to thank Sip Sports Bar for putting up with us. We come in early, and we had a nice crowd there. And tonight is Don Cambiti's Pizza, 50 cents a slice. Go there right now. I hope you're watching us on the Verizon 32 somehow with some hookup that's not in the bar because they got the dish. Then Thursday's Jumbo Wings. We'll have to have a Pittsburgh Sports Line visitation there, 25 cents. And then they got the Jumbo Fish and Coleslaw, $7.50. Check it out. And they got entertainment every Saturday night about 9 o'clock. Just stop by. It's a great place. A lot of nice TVs. Tina's really nice there with helping us out. And guess what?
Great owner.
Tracy, we can't mention the owner's name. He keeps a low profile, but he's a super guy. And then Tracy, our favorite bartender in Dormont, she come back.
She's back in the house.
She's
Thank
back
God.
in business, so we'll see you next Monday. Same time, 7:30, 7:45. You can come join the show. And we had a special 2 guests. We had Lois Brenner there, and she seems to be related to Zach. She's claiming him as her son, so I appreciate it. And Mike was with her, who I met at a birthday party. We'll talk about that on a special segment there. I even have we'll bring that out later. We'll talk something about that. And now we're going to move forward with, we do Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hey, thanks, Al. Appreciate that. Just real quick, a few years back, had a Hall of Famer come in and MC my banquet, second largest banquet in the state of Pennsylvania, next to the Dapper Dan banquet, the Willie Sargent MVP banquet.
Wow.
And afterwards, I told him I would never invite him back because he's the most arrogant son of a gun I've ever met. But
Who is this masked man?
Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen was the MC, and he dropped some interesting things when he talked. He said that he actually was recruited as a defensive back to USC.
No way.
And in USC's defensive backfield was Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith, and Joey Browner. And he would have been the 4th one. And he says what a lot of people don't know is they were looking for a tailback. And the tailback that was going to play tailback for USC, when Coach Robinson was the coach at the time, was going to be Ronnie Lott.
Really?
Ronnie Lott was going to be the next tailback. They had Charles White, and Ronnie Lott was going to be the heir apparent. And Marcus Allen says he was looking around at the different Heisman Trophy, and then when he was a senior at a high school in San Diego, California, O.J. Simpson came to visit.
Nice.
Did the banquet, and so him and O.G. looked up to O.J. And
Well, that was before a lot of the controversy,
Well,
the murders.
well, he was with O.J.'s wife.
That was
so
before the
probably-
juice went
That probably
loose.
that
That's
probably
before the
triggered.
juice busted
That
loose.
probably triggered
Whoa.
some of the murders. But anywho,
With no conviction.
Hey, if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
That's it. That's it.
R.I.P.
And,
Johnny Coffey.
And he says he's looking at all the different trophies, and Coach Robinson's there. He says, wow. He says, my dream was always to win the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be kind of hard to do that as a defensive back. So Coach Robinson decided to move him to fullback. Wow. So his sophomore and his freshman, redshirt freshman and sophomore year, he is a 191-pound sophomore for Heisman Trophy winner Charles White. And then he moved to tailback as a junior. And then his senior year, he's the first running back in NCAA history, run for over 2,000 yards. And then he went on to do what he did in the National Football League. And I couldn't wait to throw him out of the room. But Marcus Allen, the most arrogant person I ever met in my life, he had a pretty great story. So we were real honored to have a Hall of Famer come and visit us at the Hilton.
You know a lot of people. For that to be the most arrogant guy, I find that
shocking. And while we're talking football real quick, R.I.P. to Deacon Jones. He was a great old-time veteran football player.
I saw him play, Little Z.
I never got to see him play, but I have a lot of respect for the old-timers.
Can I say this? I don't want to start a controversy in Bethel Park.
Wow, what happened?
But the fearsome foursome was the greatest defensive line of all time, led by Deacon Jones and Merlin Olsen.
Rosie Greer and Lamar Lundy, right?
Lamar Lundy.
That
was it, the fearsome foursome.
And that was extra fiction and fact with an assist from Little Z. And Chip the
Merlin Olsen's one of my all-time favorite NFL player. I don't know if this is still the record because the great Ray Lewis, but Merlin Olsen had the record 14 Pro Bowls. 14 Pro Bowls.
How many seasons?
I think about 17 seasons.
That's
14. Wasn't he on Little House on the Prairie, too?
He was on that, but the brothers didn't watch that show. We was watching Good Times. Jefferson, we trying to move on up.
I thought it was the Crosby show. Crosby.
Yeah.
Glad you caught that, Little Z.
But Deacon Jones was a beast, man. Yeah. He was a beast.
That he was. I even had his football card.
And,
Did he head slap you? He used to love head slap white guys.
And according to Deacon, he probably was a career sack leader in the NFL, but when the fearsome foursome were terrorizing offensive backfields was before they started making the sack a statistic. So,
yeah, there were some people that went back and they ran around 179 career sacks, but Deacon says it was well over 200.
He was counting.
It was kind of hard to find. It was all.
But that was back in the day when that was their first move, was the boom boom to the side of the head of they dazed the offensive lineman and bull rushed past him.
And that's when they had plaster Paris in their forearms too. That's defensive.
No, they didn't do that.
And all the guys were over 6'5" on that defensive line, and they had a quarterback, Roman Gabriel, who was 6'8". So they was a star quality team in those Los Angeles
But that was back
Rams.
in the era when there was the awesome defensive lines. There was the Purple People Eater in Minnesota. There was the Steel Curtain in Pittsburgh. There was the Fearsome Foursome in L.A.
That's true.
And then
I have a theory. It was a lot of the supplements that they got by their trainers. They brought up trays of supplements for these guys.
Vitamins.
I'm calling them supplements. And they helped them out because they were so warm when they played. They used to cut their sleeves off. So it's ironic that happened at that era, all these players.
Well, there were so many great defensive lines at that time, like you said. Even the modern day, somewhat the modern day, the gang green with Reggie White and Jerome Brown and the bum Mike Golick. But Clyde,
he's on TV.
Yeah, Clyde Simmons was also there. But there could only be one best, and the best, in my opinion, was Fearsome Foursome. They averaged over 6'5". All of them was over 6'5".
Great point.
Lamar Lundy was 6'7". All of them were close to almost 300 pounds, some of them. And I tell you what, and also in that era, my favorite all-time defensive lineman of all time, I love him. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Toughest guy I ever watched play football, Lyle Alzado. Rest in peace.
There you go.
But don't you think it's easy, though, when you have that four men on the line, though? If you have at least one superstar, they're going to get more attention. You're going to get two guys. You're going to get double teams.
Yes,
so at least one guy on that line should get spring free and clean it up. If you have a superstar of that caliber.
Lyle Alzado had Big Ben Davidson on the other end.
He was a big mean guy.
He was a mean guy.
Ooh, Ben Davidson was tough.
He had a nice beard, too.
Yeah.
He had a fear of the beard.
Well, Ben Davidson one time, I hate to Ben Davison
Go
one
ahead. You
time.
got the fiction and
Don't-
fact. It's rolling.
Don't forget, this is an
an
era when the Pittsburgh Steelers used to love cutting Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You know, Johnny Unitas got cut. They told him
Sure.
he never would
Love
be able to
Len
play.
Dawson
Len
got cut.
Dawson, that's who I'm coming. Great point, Chip. Len Dawson, who was cut by the Pittsburgh Steelers, also in the Hall of Fame. The Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs actually hated each other. And Len Dawson ran one time. He ran about 10 yards, got tackled. About 20 minutes later, here come Ben Davison, spared him, and that just started a big old brawl. So back then, you know, now you can't. You got to hit quarterbacks from the waist up. Back then, you could hit them from the top of their head all the way to the
That's
bottom
when
of
the
their
Hammer
feet.
Williamson was out there.
Yeah.
Curly Culp and
That's
Willie
it.
Lanier.
That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And
don't forget the meanest guy, Dick Night Train Lane.
How many-
Clothesline.
How many of those guys sustained multiple concussions and head injuries and
They're a
injuries?
piece
They
of meat.
can't
They're
remember.
a piece of
They're
meat.
done. They're
Little Z,
joints
they
are-
couldn't remember
They're
all
there
that.
for my entertainment.
I'm just
the future.
waiting for them to find some kind of correlation between Jim Kelly's jaw cancer and his blows to the head.
All right, let's move forward. We
He had
got
a weak jaw. He had a glass jaw. That's why they couldn't win in Buffalo. Sorry, Thurman Thomas.
Hey, next week maybe I'll tell you my Jim Kelly story. We get a
I hope you
chance.
do.
East
High
Brady
school
Zone.
story about Jim
East
Kelly.
Brady Zone.
Yeah.
Maddie knows. All right, folks, we're going to one of my favorite segments here, and he teased this last night. That show from Sips, you'll probably see it next week. So Chip the Prophet Hayner was teasing us with, he had a lot of great Chip's Trivia Time stuff. So here it is, folks. Chip's Trivia Time.
All right, thank you, Alan.
Yeah.
Wanted to start off today with, the Pirates are on everybody's mind right now. The Pirates are playing very good baseball. They're starting to garner some interest, okay? So kind of like to go over some stats that kind of can speak to why the Pirates have put themselves back on the map. And the stats that I have that I found quite interesting were the team pitching statistics. And right now, the Pirates are ranked in Major League Baseball as the number 2 pitching staff in the major leagues. Number 1 is the St. Louis Cardinals, and their team ERA is 3.07. The Pirates' team ERA is 3.17.
Wow.
That's number 2 in the entire major leagues.
Wow.
Here's something that the Pirates, through Make-A-Wish Foundation, they are. I forget who the corporation is. For every strikeout the Pirates have, Pirate pitcher gets, they donate $15 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And this was Sunday was when I pulled these statistics. Pirates have 440 strikeouts by their pitchers. That's starters, relievers. That ranks number 5 in the major leagues.
Wow,
Not
nice.
too bad. The Pirates rank number 1 in Major League Baseball with 9 shutouts this year.
Not too
so
shabby.
far. They also lead the league with 24 saves for the year. So those are some pretty interesting statistics and kind of speak to why the Pirates are doing as well as they're doing, because they're 4th from the bottom in the National League in batting with a team batting average of 240. There's nothing but room for improvement there, and they are among the top 10 in the major leagues in home runs hit. They've hit 53 round trippers so far this season. So, for as bad as their batting average is, they're putting some of the balls out of the park. Now, we have. The first time Zach sat in on the show, I couldn't make it in. I was sick, and they jokingly called Zach Wally Chip. And Wally, and that goes back to a reference to a gentleman named Wally Pipp, who was the first baseman of the New York Yankees, who couldn't make it to the game one day, and they put in somebody named Lou Gehrig, who only happened to play the next 2,800 games in a row without missing a day. So, I wanted to touch on, being that Zach's here, that I wanted to touch on Lou Gehrig. And on June 3rd, 1932, Lou Gehrig was the first player in American League history to hit 4 home runs in one game.
Really?
Okay. Pretty amazing statistic. Also on June 3rd, 1989, Nolan Ryan, my favorite pitcher of all time, pitched his 11th career one-hitter. Okay? He did 2 things by doing this that night. He broke the record of a gentleman named Bob Feller. Bob Feller was a Cleveland Indians pitcher, Hall of Famer.
Great pitcher.
Bob Feller set a record that he had 15 low-hit games, and that means either one-hitters or no-hitters pitched in his career. And by pitching his 11th career one-hitter, Nolan Ryan passed that record, which he added to before he finished his career, because Nolan Ryan, as we all know, threw 7 no-hitters, and he probably threw several more one-hitters. So Nolan Ryan set a record for Major League Baseball in low-hit games. Wow. And the most amazing statistic that I found, and
they're all pretty amazing.
No, my friend Claudio and I had a very nice discussion about baseball. You get to see the show from last night. Listen to our discussion. But Claudio and I both agree that we hate the pitch count in Major League Baseball. And you see Major League pitchers pitch 5 and 6 innings and they get credit for a win. And it's just one of the things that drives me crazy. Well, on June the 4th, 1968, which was also considered the year of the pitcher, the year after 1968 was when they lowered the mound by 6 inches. A number of reasons. Denny McLain won 32 games that year. Bob Gibson had an ERA of like 1.15 for the season. Wow. Don Drysdale, on June 4th, 1968, pitched his 6th consecutive no-hitter. That is 6 complete 9-inning games.
Not shutout. Not 6.
Shutout.
No-hitter.
No, it was a shutout. Yeah,
I watched it, buddy.
Yeah, he pitched his 6th complete
the record for
shutout, which means he pitched 6 9-inning games. Now, let me just share a little statistics with you.
Wow.
Since the beginning of last year, to today, one Pirates pitcher has pitched a complete game. He pitched 6 in a row.
But how many days rest? How many days rest between games?
4 or 5.
Probably 4 or 5. Yeah. No more than that. He pitched 54 innings of scoreless baseball consecutively.
In 68.
In 1968, yes, sir.
Scoreless. Yeah.
It's a record that still stands.
I think he was up
now,
there.
you know what? I mean, Earl Hershiser may have beaten that.
He beat it since.
But Hershiser didn't do it in complete games. These were 6 consecutive complete games. Hershiser may have pitched 7 innings in one game. He got get pulled. But in the era of specialization, you will never see another statistic like that. You'll see entire pitching staffs not pitch 6 complete games in a season, and he did it in a row.
Let alone shutouts, which he had that record for probably 20
certainly
years.
Not in my generation, not in this modern day.
No, in this age of specialization, they got pitchers that pitch the 7th inning. They got pitchers that pitch the 8th inning, and then you got your 9th inning specialist. And I think it's bogus that if you pitch 5.5 innings that you get credit for a win. I think you had to pitch the whole game, but I'm old school.
Good point.
Well, another thing, we were talking with Claudio after the game, and we were talking about figure out one of these relief pitchers pitches 3 minutes, and he pitches maybe 60, 70 games. So for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, he's making $10 million a year. So I told him, for all you folks out there that are baseball fans and you want your kids to succeed, make them pitch left-handed. Make your kid grow up to be a lefty, because if he can throw about 85, 87 miles per hour, he could be a major leaguer, make millions, and he's not going to get hurt that bad. They need
percentages are so low. I didn't go to Carnegie Mellon or IUP or Cal U or any of the local universities, but the percentages of that happening are like getting hit by lightning. But I will tell you this. What's something you guys were touching on last night, though, about like letting your kids be themselves, though, not like letting the coach dictate, what they're going to do out there, mess with their mechanics. I mean, I'm all for that, individualism. Everybody does things differently. Messing with one kid's
look at some of the greatest players that played every sport, not just baseball, like we were talking about. They all had their own little styles, and sure, there's basics, like Claudio was telling us, 3
fundamentals.
Basics. Right. You have the fundamentals, but how you get there, hey, that's what makes it fun.
And to speak to your point, you're saying not a lot of people make it to the major leagues. Of all the players that get drafted, and the Major League Baseball draft is happening later on this week, of all the players that get drafted in the Major League Baseball draft, I think it's less than 10% of them make it to the major leagues.
And there's a lot of rounds in Major League Baseball draft. Isn't there? There's like
Yeah.
18, 19.
Yeah, there is, and
20
very,
rounds. Used to
be
very
50
few of
some
the,
rounds.
very few of those kids ever make it to the show.
Correct.
You
But a
know?
lot of those kids are just like, could be like Juan Valdez walking down the street with a donkey. They just buy the rights to him just to have the rights for him.
Was he the guy that had the coffee bags?
Yeah, he was from Colombia.
Nice.
I think the Padres own his rights if he ever decides to pitch.
Only for a couple years.
I think he was a righty though.
I think his son's in charge now, or his grandson.
That little kid that pitched in the Little League World Series from New York, he ever make it to the big
He
league?
was 30 years
Yeah, he
old.
ended up being. Yeah,
He
I
was
know.
30.
Yeah,
He was the best little leaguer
he
ever
was a
seen.
Cuban sensation from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is,
He's 17 years
I
old.
gave him away.
He's
He had a
17 years
mustache.
old. He's striking
He
out
had a
12-year-olds.
mustache. He just mowing down everybody.
what happened is he had to shave between innings. That's what got him in trouble. If he didn't have to shave between innings, he would have
I
got
think
away
it was
with it.
Danny. His name is Danny something. Danny.
That wasn't his real name.
Hey, I don't know what his name is. His name could
I'm
have been Juan Valdez.
teasing. I'm teasing there. Anybody that has a beard like you, I'm not arguing with you, brother. No problem. Hey, now I can't hold off on Penguin talk anymore. We all have our opinions on it, and that's what they are. I mean, it was a tough game to watch. I mean, it was nice eating hot sausage and French fries and zucchini and more French fries. I mean, thanks
I
again,
was
Civ
loving it.
Sports Bar. And then we had, somehow they missed Chip. So they owe him a second sandwich for next
Telling
week.
you, it was so weak.
We'll move on to Penguins.
I
Easy,
barely
easy.
made it here tonight. But moving on to the Penguins. Last night, was about as bad as a game as I've ever seen. And, it's really amazing to see that, in all the years that Sidney Crosby's been playing hockey here in Pittsburgh, the two worst games he's played in his career have been the last two. And, and I'm sure that's the exception. That's not the rule. And, I heard Dan Bilesma say today that there's going to be some changes made in the lineup, and I'm going to go far enough out on a limb to say that I think one of the people that ought to be a healthy scratch from tomorrow night's game is Chris Letang. I think he did more last night to help the Bruins win that game than he did to help the Penguins, because I think he forgot that he's a defenseman first. He was playing more like an offensive forward. He get caught out of position so many times because he's deep in the zone and not covering his responsibilities at the end. They pulled Tommy Volkun, and I think really they ought to start Fleury in net tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see what they do, but they ought to put him out there, let Volkun get a rest, and this is a must-win game. I mean, I tell you what, Penguins lose tomorrow night, they're done. Their chances of coming out of this Boston series with a win are absolutely zero.
Well, we'll make it much more difficult. It is a must-win in my book. I wouldn't go as far as you with Letang. I would have a coach just tell him, we need you to stay back just a little bit. Use your skills to disrupt the other team, because he's good at that. And when once in a while you want to do some offensive playing, get the puck out of there once in a while, but you got to play a little defense.
Could they get swept?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they play like they did.
possibility right
They
now.
played the way they did
No, they're
Saturday
still
and Monday. Definitely they could get
They're
swept.
getting outclassed right now in all fundamentals.
Right
of the
now,
game.
the better team is up 2-0. I mean, they've been completely outplayed and outclassed, and they're just being outworked is what they're doing. Because I'll tell you one of the things that Chris Letang is such a talented hockey player, okay, and he can do things that no other defenseman can do, and he can make passes that are just out of this world. But sometimes instead of trying to make the spectacular play, he needs to make the smart play.
The average.
And just let things take their course instead of trying to make the highlight reels, because by doing that they're turning over the puck, they're getting odd man rushes down there, and our goaltenders are getting pelted.
You're kind of diverting a lot of the blame towards the players, but who's in charge of the players? Who coaches the players? Who's the guy up on the bench? Who's the guy getting paid
Right,
more
but
than
the
some
guy
of
on
the
the
players?
bench isn't on the ice, and you know what I mean. I mean, the
I
coach
can jump
can
on
do
the
so
ice
much.
real quick. I can get on the ice real
You know what I'm
quick.
saying?
Seriously,
You
real
know, I
quick.
mean,
and say that
the
real
refs
quick.
might throw
And
you
wait till
out.
we get back in the locker room. Wait till we get back in the locker room. I'm just saying. He just lacks emotion right now. To me, he's coaching a little bit like Mike Tomlin a couple years ago, where he's just taking it all in. Like, what are you taking in? Like, I'm taking it in. Like, you want me to call you and tell you, it's time, it's time to grab
I think
somebody.
some of it-
It's time to quit being, Mr. Nice Guy and start to, enforce some of the fundamental. They're getting away from it.
I
He
got to
needs
take
go
a middle
top
of the
to
road
hurdle.
position on both of you, because here's what I think. If you train properly all week, like a lot of guys are players where you don't need that attaboy and go out there and
John
kill.
Wooden's
You know,
philosophy.
so my point is you taught them everything they're supposed to do. They have to go out and produce. Now, here's where the coach should come in. Have a little timeout or have a meeting whenever you need and say, wait a second, here's what we practiced all week. You guys aren't playing like we practiced. We had all this. Instead, you're headhunting with Chara. You're headhunting with all the Boston players. They had great hits on them.
Here's
But
the thought, though.
how does that help?
Here's a thought though. What if they're playing like they're practicing, and what if that's
I
what
don't
they're being
believe
taught?
they are. I don't
what
think
if
they
what
are.
what we're seeing
Not
is
from the reports that I'm hearing. When they're practicing, all the things we complain
then he's not
about,
getting through to them,
This
and then
is
they
my
need to
point.
fire him
Now
and
you're
get
on my
somebody
point.
else in there.
Not yet.
Michelle Terrian.
If he loses,
Oh, there you go. That's
they
why
didn't
I'm
even
at.
want him at practices, but that's another story.
It was me.
Part of the point
Yeah,
is,
but look what Terrian did with the Canadiens. They went belly up in the playoffs this year in the first round.
We've
you know
gone
what?
belly up too in the
But,
last.
you know,
bring
but-
Terrian
but
in,
here's
and
his-
then bring Bosma back at the end.
Here's part of what the problem is I think, the Penguins have, everybody said that, the Boston Bruins do not like to be hit. And the more that you hit them, the more likely you are to knock them off the game. And I think part of the problem is we're focusing too much on trying to hit them and not playing our game. Last night, if you looked at the statistics, the Penguins had like 34 hits. I mean, they out-hit the Bruins by a significant margin.
Yeah.
But, instead of concentrating on hitting people, play your game. The hits will happen.
Where's the scoring? I mean, that's the real question.
That's what I'm saying. If
I've been
you're
on the
worried about
phone with
hitting-
Ralph Iannotti, all the main newscasters on the news, and my main focus is where did our offense go?
You've been
You
on
know?
with them.
Oh yeah, I've been on the
I
phone
thought
with
this
them all
was the
day.
show you were on.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm in the newsroom working for them too.
Are
No,
you?
I'm just.
Brenner
I'm just
Contracting
I'm
is
just-
now expanded
What
to
looks
the
good
newsroom.
on paper doesn't necessarily always mean what's going to look good on the game, and what matches up good on paper doesn't mean that's what's going to match up on the ice. And right now, they're being outworked, outclassed, out-hustled. I mean, I could go for another 20 minutes without things that they're being done right now. They're playing anything but their
Out-coached.
game. They're being out-coached for sure. And I mean, that Mike, my mom's man, lives in
Yeah.
the same neighborhood as Bosma. If me and Disco Dan run into each other, you guys are out of your mind if you think that I'm not going to, I want to see some emotion on him just in my conversation with him. Like, I'll get him fired up. I'll light your fire. You want to live in Pittsburgh, you want to claim Pittsburgh, then you better start to,
Well,
buckle
they need
down.
4 more wins in this series, folks. They're going
Yeah.
to get it. I know they're going to come
Alan,
back. I'm a
Alan,
believer.
Alan, they need one win to start with.
I'm a fan, buddy. It doesn't matter. 4 to get this series. They got the talent. They got the firepower. All they have to do is play like they're supposed to.
Well, one good thing is if the Penguins can't win this series,
There's no parade.
your heart your heart has to go out to pull for Boston because of what happened with the marathon. So if the Penguins can't win, I'm pulling
And
for Boston.
there's
to
a
win.
theory, Smoking Jim, that whenever a tragedy happens in a certain
9/11.
city, that city ends up winning whatever championship they're playing.
Jim, let me share a little
I'll go
something
with the
with you. I'm
Blackhawks.
heading up to New England on the 29th of June, okay? And Boston fans are some of the most obnoxious
Yeah,
people. I
that's true.
find it hard to root for them, but
Just
certainly,
against the Yankees.
Certainly, what happened, in Boston was tragic, and
Yeah.
and certainly, they're the way they bounced back from it is commendable. But then that's about all the further I'm going to go.
Hey, Chip, what happened down in Miami last night, Chip? What happened down in Miami
Yeah,
last
I
night?
know.
What happened down in Miami?
Let's move that heat
He
section
waved
up.
down in Miami last night,
That's
Chip.
really good.
Let's go to the heat.
99-66.
They ran the Pacers out of the gym. They ran them out of South Florida last night.
And who was the star again? Who scores over 30% of the scoring for the Heat?
the guy that puts the I in team, LeBron James.
Hey, listen. More so than anybody at this table, aside from Smoking Jim and whatever he's putting in with the bookies or whatever, like I follow a lot of NBA basketball, a lot of basketball. And I'll tell you what, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade is hurt. He's not playing 100%. Bosch has disappeared. I mean, he does, for once in his life, he's carrying them right now. I don't know what's going to happen against the Spurs, but I know it's going to be one good finals for a change. And it's going to be worth watching on ABC.
Little Z, you might have missed some of our earlier shows. I'm not a big basketball fan for numerous reasons, but I picked the Heat. When we do our predictions, the Heat, they're one of my teams. Whether I like the players or not, I think they could win it
yeah,
all.
Chip, LeBron James
Go
is
Heat.
no Michael Jordan. But I will say that I had the pleasure in my generation and my era to get to watch a majority of that man's greatness live and in color.
And I admire your passion.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
and as passionately as you'll be rooting for LeBron and the Miami Heat, I'll be doing the same for Tim Duncan and the San
Well,
Antonio
at least say
Spurs.
Blair. At least say DeJuan Blair then. I mean, root for Blair then.
I will root for the San Antonio Spurs, and DeJuan Blair is a Pittsburgh product, and I hope that he does well. But I'll tell you what, of all the players in the NBA, the one that I admire the most is Tim Duncan. This is a gentleman who's done nothing but, he's a class act from the time he was a rookie till now. He's got 4 rings on his hands already.
I think he's
I'd like
getting
to see him
divorced.
go out with
Yeah,
5.
too bad his wife ain't coming back.
Yeah, his wife ain't coming back. She's with Brazil right now.
And
They're on
folks, that's,
vacation.
that's what's great about our show. They bring the personal issues up here that may affect the play on the court. That's why Miami Heat, he's distracted right
His
now.
wife wanted a little bit more emotion.
Greg
Tim don't show
Popovich is
much
the best
emotion.
coach in the
Tony
NBA.
Tony Parker lost his wife.
Yeah, he sure
Tim Duncan
did.
lost his wife. Hopefully, DeJuan Blair's with one of their wives.
He lost his
That's why
wife
he
years
can't get
ago.
off the bench.
Hey, I would take being on the bench, making his check, and being with one of the star players' wives.
Because every
I mean,
time
that's
he
a win-win.
Because that would explain it. Because every time he plays well. But for some reason, he got in the doghouse. But I tell you what, I've seen that. What, Eva?
He has
Yeah.
no ACL, no MC, he has no knees, so he's a beast.
No MCL,
Yeah.
no ACL.
He wasn't supposed
bone
to
on
even
bone.
get this
Sounds
far.
sort of like Heinz Ward, one of our favorite players, but not Smoking Jim's favorite player. No MCLs. And he played well for a while.
He sure did.
And as we move further, I got a little program to show you. I always like bringing.
Hey, just
Little props.
got a clip from Big Mike from New York.
Did he
just
send you a
sent
flick? He
a
sent a
photo,
picture.
yeah.
What is it? Because I don't know. Here, little Z had a birthday. We talked about it last night. Since the show's not going to be up for a little while, I just wanted to give a highlight. This is the Meadows program. Little Z had his birthday party out there. He invited me. We were right at trackside, sitting on a beautiful evening. I don't know. This is what the official program looked. This is actually 50 years ago, folks. The anniversary is June 28th, 1963. So that's quite a program there. And there's a few of our
That's a nice ball.
horse racing statistics. Little Z learned some things from a tutor there. Some guy gave him some stats, and he did pretty well. But his brother, that's the guy I want to talk about. His brother Addison come to the track, didn't know anything, and he walked away a winner, folks. So we'll have to have some more segments on the Meadows and horse racing. And a little trivia, you have Roger Houston, the track announcer. And for all you guys that like to hear at the Meadows, he was a pit announcer, Pit Panther football announcer. And there's a saying he had, what was that, with Hugh Green? He'd announce, I can't do it, folks, but he had a heck of a voice for that Hugh Green call that he gave. And he's a great announcer, folks.
When you said pit, I thought you was going to say pit bull. No, it's dog fights.
No.
No, he was out at the Post-Gazette Pavilion with Kesha.
Yeah.
Yeah. All 5 people that went to that show.
I guarantee you there was more than 5 people, but a lot of them probably had their heads shaved.
7,000 at the Post-Gazette Pavilion. That was it.
Wow.
Hey, that's
Stips.
at $25 a ticket. You do the math. I mean, I would love to be getting that check. Hi, Kisha.
There you go. Hey, we cover a lot of
Pitbull's
topics here.
from Miami. I love Miami. How you doing?
And now we'll get off of Miami. And how about the Buccos here? We touched on them lightly. I mean, they've exceeded my expectations so far, having the best April and May. And they're not having the best June yet. But, hey, we're still ahead of the game here. And they got a lot of great stats. But one of the ones that shows we have some issues is they can't drive in runners that are on base. They have one of the worst batting averages with men on base, and over time that will catch up with you. So Chip, even though I enjoyed that Kool-Aid and it's much sweeter now, that bothers me. These little stats, like even the pitchers, they're doing great, but they're using a lot of the pitchers. If we don't get some fresh arms coming in soon, which you've brought that up numerous times, we need it because we're not old school. They're not going more than 5+ innings.
No, and there are pitchers on the horizon, and Charlie Morton's working his way back from his Tommy John surgery, and he isn't the answer to all of our prayers. But you've got Charlie Morton out there, you've got Garrett Cole, who probably will be up in the majors by the end of July. Is working on some things down in AAA. Karstens was put on the 60-day DL, so you're probably going to be looking at him later in the summer. James McDonald has started into his rehab, and a lot of people laughing about James McDonald, but James McDonald's an interesting pitcher because of all the pitchers on the Pirates staff, okay, major league, minor league, he has the absolute nastiest stuff of anybody. He's got something going on up here that they need to get his head screwed on straight. They're starting to work on redeveloping his arm strength, whatever was wrong with him. They're working on getting that straight. But if they could get that guy's head right, the first half of last year.
Psychologists now that specialize in trying to get these guys to overcome whatever.
The first half of last year, he was as good as any pitcher in the National League, and he completely fell apart
in the second
half.
That's the thing. The sports psychologists, like coaches, can only do so much. When you have the guy in shape and he's able to throw some of that nasty stuff that he has,
you need that mental edge.
Well, he has to learn to pitch from the stretch a little bit better too.
But also, you know what? It has to come from in here too, because the person's got to want to do it. There's only so much that somebody else can do for you, but you got to reach in deep, dig down deep inside yourself, and and pull it out. But there is some help on the way. The Pirates bats, they have been getting better as of late. They started up. It seems like they always do start the year off cold, but the bats that they've got on the bench that they can bring in at any given point in the game, they have been producing in run-scoring situations. They're not scoring a lot of runs, but if you're not giving up a lot of runs, and out of 11 games, they won 4 1-0 games. Well, you know what? Last year they were on the wrong side of those 1-0 games. So, they're finding a way to win the close games, and,
Well, I'm hoping that the baseball gods don't want us to have 21 years because of Roberto Clemente. So if some of that synchronicity can tie in there, folks, that we can put that together.
12 games over 500?
Maybe that's why they won a couple of these games that they normally wouldn't.
Well,
and the other teams have dropped a can of corn and bounced into each other.
I tell you right now that the team that they've got is much deeper than it has been in the past. They've got a much better bench than they had last year. They got some good veteran leadership.
And how about the catcher? That's the key.
Russell
Martin has thrown out so many. I think he's ahead of what we did all of last year.
Well, he threw out more runners in April than Barajas threw out all year last year. So
there you go.
That was just in the month of April.
Barajas had such an annoying batting intro too. Every time he came up to bat down there, they get to pick their own songs.
Right.
So they come up to bat,
and they played lowrider. But Russell Martin. I'll tell you what, the Pirates have probably overpaid for Russell Martin this year. And Pirates identified him as being the top catcher in the free agent market, even though there was a kid that was caught for Texas that got more money, Napoli. But Russell Martin was a perfect fit for the Pirates, and I'm telling you what, man, he keeps the other team's runners at bay. Been down to the games, 2 games this weekend.
Yeah, I saw the great picture you sent.
He snapped throws down to first base, a guy that's just like, lackadaisical walking off base. And, he keeps the runners closer to the bases. I've seen him try to throw out a runner that's leading off second base from behind the plate, from his knees. Boom, and he gets a ball right out there. He's got a cannon.
You bring up another point. We're losing guys on the base paths from Josh Henderson, Marte. These guys might need schooled a little better, like the old Maury Wills and guys that used to play
Josh Harrison, he spent a short time up here, and then he went back down real quick. Marte, here's the thing about Marte. Marte is such an amazing natural athlete, and he has got something that you can't teach. He's got speed. If you ever sit in PNC Park and watch him run the outfield, run the bases, he moves like nobody I've ever seen.
Who's faster, him or Andrew?
Oh, Marte, easily.
Really?
Easily.
Wow.
No question he's faster than Andrew. Wow. And, those two are in the top 5 in stolen bases in the National League. And, Marte, he's learning how to play the game, and the mistakes that he's making on the base pass and stuff like that, I can live with them because, you know what? He's keeping the other teams honest. He's out there.
I know, but I'm looking for runs. That's the thing. When you're on second base,
they will come.
The Pirates are looking for runs. The Penguins are looking for goals. The Steelers are just trying
hold
to
it.
stay
Wait, you just segued into my next segment. Steelers. Now, here's the thing. They're only a mile from their stadium, so stay out of Southside after 11 o'clock. I'm going to say 11 o'clock because then you can clear out by
Maybe
midnight.
you had to move the training facility out of Southside.
But it's a nice facility.
If you want to call, being from the city, if you want to call where their training facility is, the South Side, be my guest.
Officially, they do.
I mean, it's a hop, skipping. It's way down the. The madness is
The
down
Glenwood
the road, way
Bridge.
far away from-
It's almost under the Glenwood Bridge. I'm teasing, Little Z.
Listen, you listen. You think you can go out, but when you're flashy, listen. We don't know all the circumstances either, but I'm pretty sure from what I've gathered from my people.
From
on the
your
South
hood,
Side,
what did they say?
Mike Adams, is an arrogant, flashy kind of guy. He was running his mouth. You never know who you run your mouth into. It's always going to be the lowest denominator character that's going to have it out for you. When you have more than everybody, you need to insulate yourself and get more guys like me around, and we'll make sure you don't get stabbed and you'll come home.
Hold it. Wait a second. We got Brenner Contracting.
Zach, here's the
We do
thing.
security.
3 o'clock in the morning, you're down in Southside, sitting on the hood of your truck. You've got got gold jewelry on. You've got a nice, big, expensive vehicle. And you got somebody down there that
has nothing.
And you lost your keys. You couldn't even get in the vehicle.
I mean, he put himself in a bad place. I mean, that could have been avoided. I mean, do you need to go out and wear all the bling? I know you're a young man and you want to get out and show off all the, but it's foolish.
Hey, Smoke the Jim. What's the size on Mike Adams? What's his statistics?
6'7".
340.
6'7", 340. So when you get that kind of size of a man, you guys videotape the basketball game. You see how some of them guys walk around. Cam Hayward isn't a small guy, but I'm pretty sure Cam Hayward isn't hanging around the south side at that time of the night, and it didn't happen to Cam Hayward. So Mike Adams, by being that size, you always take for granted, you're so tough, whatever. But hey, you're gonna bleed just like me, Mike. And you did, and you're in a hospital.
And there's our security guy.
Pittsburgh Sports Line right now, and you're taking some notes, and you're learning from this city, man. You're from Ohio, Ohio State.
To speak to your point, Zach.
Call Terrell Pryor. No, wait, he's not
people
from the
are
city.
always going to try to pick a fight with the biggest and baddest dude in around because they want to test themselves, whether you're a Steeler or not. If you're 6'7", and you got covered in gold jewelry, somebody's going to come over and try to get in your business.
But Mike Adams got almost a $3 million signing bonus last year as a second-round draft pick. You could probably get security for $200 to $300.
Oh, that Little Z's volunteering his service for a small fee.
For that amount of money,
Why don't you have a bodyguard around you? He spends more money than that every day on Loud.
Jim, right, for $200 or $300, he could pay himself to have a driver, so he wouldn't have to worry about leaving his keys to valet and not getting his keys back.
A good point.
You know what I mean? You want to go out to the clubs? Go out to the clubs and drink. Pay somebody to drive you there and drive you home.
Or how about hiring a cab? The cabs are there.
Well, you can't try getting a cab in Pittsburgh.
Well, cab drivers on the south side don't pick up brothers, believe me.
You sure?
You can't haul a cab if you're a brother.
That's not true.
Every cab driver I know, they always tell me, we ain't picking no black fares up.
When I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror, I don't see a color. I'm colorblind. I see. I think I'm blue.
Well, folks, we'd like to continue this conversation, but we're running down to the last 3 minutes, and I like to do the closing remarks. So we'll try to change it up a little bit, whether you see color or not. I was born in a Hill District, so I don't know what you guys are saying. I don't see any of that. We're all Pittsburghers.
I don't know what the Hill District was like back then, but from what I've gathered, from what I've seen, Al, you grew up in the part that was like this, and the rest of it was like this. So you were like over here in this little area over here, and this little area over here, and the rest of it was on fire.
I'll tell you the stories from the 60s, buddy. That was only after 68 and 69. Before that, people got along there, okay? It wasn't bad. I'll give you a history lesson. That'll be a show for another day there. We'll have the history out there, and it was a lot different.
I think those Penguins need to walk across to where the old igloos sit and just walk around, maybe like rub the dirt in their hands, like a little scene from Gladiator or something. It's gut check time.
I like
the
Gladiator.
Steelers on the north side were really good, and they always will be good with, manning up and trying to go out there and do the best. Like the Steelers are never coming to get their asses waxed. There's part of my friends,
What'd you say?
getting their
Their
asses handed to
glasses.
them. Glasses
They
handed
lost
to them.
their glasses?
Yeah, they don't want to get their glasses handed to them out there on the football
I'll help
field.
you out. All right, Snook and Jim, we're going to be wrapping this up. We're getting close here.
Yeah, you can't win them all. I'm a big Penguin fan. I'm a Bowsman fan as well. I think that'll bring everybody back. You can win it all. They've already won the Stanley Cup one time. And my favorite player is Yager. And I think the fans of Boston, the people in Boston, need to win this title for the community.
All right, keep it quick here.
On a different note, Tommy Valcoon, 6 wins this playoffs. Marc-Andre Fleury's going to end up with 10, and the Penguins are going to get the cup.
Go Penguins. I'm right there. I've drank the Kool-Aid all season.